Following on from the last episode where we looked at my Star Wars figures, it's obviously now time to look at figures pertaining to The Empire Strikes Back. Stay tuned, this is going to be a good one. Welcome back. Now, having just done the episode where I looked at my Star Wars figures relating to the first movie, it's obviously time to look at the figures relating to The Empire Strikes Back. And by the way, if you missed that first episode, click up here. Now, Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, not only is it my favourite of the three Star Wars movies, the figures that Kenner released, they are also my favourite line of figures of the four that Kenner gave us. Now, my first ever Star Wars figures were purchased in 1980, and those of course came on Empire Strikes Back cards, so for that reason alone, these are really special figures for me. Now, I'm not going to waste any more time yapping on like this. Let's take a look at my Star Wars Empire Strikes Back figures and see which ones need to be upgraded. So to start things out, we have Luke Skywalker in this Hoth outfit. Now, overall, it's not terrible, but I just feel the limbs are slightly yellowed, and it does bother me somewhat. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I feel potentially that could be improved upon. So let's move on. Next we have Leia in her Hoth outfit. I think this figure is absolutely perfect. I don't think it's possible to get a better example than we have here. So without question, Leia has to stay. That is as good an example as you're ever going to find of her. Now we have Han Solo. This one is not bad, but his legs are somewhat splayed. I'm not sure if putting it in hot water and banding the legs together to let them set straight would improve on that. Apart from that, he's pretty good. Not much in the way of paint wear. I know that this figure does suffer from the boots being scuffed, but these ones are perfect. So aside from the splayed legs, Han is looking pretty good there. Now the Rebel Soldier. This one I think is most acceptable. Not much in the way of yellowing, which is good. Paint is all pretty nice, and the face doesn't have any scuffs that I can see. So yeah, definitely a keeper here. Now, the Rebel Commander. This is one that I think I will definitely upgrade. It may not come through on camera, but there is definitely yellowing going on, and the limbs are a much sort of darker colour than the body. Furthermore, I don't know if this is coming through or not, but the strap on his rifle has cracked. Now, I believe I have some reproduction replacements which I may use, but if I do find a nicer complete example, then that would just be perfect. But as it stands, this is definitely one I am looking to upgrade. So we have not one but two Hoth stormtroopers. Now I'm going to put them both up simultaneously. One is original 100%, and that's this one here. It's complete original Kenner. The one on the right here is one that I de-yellowed, but it's yellowed again unfortunately, but it has a reproduction blaster and skirt, and you can see just how white that skirt is when compared to his body. As far as I'm concerned, if I can find a really bright white mint original, I may track that down for the display. Otherwise, this one will be on the display, and this one will be used in a small Hoth diorama. But it's a hard figure to find beaming white, and especially when the cape doesn't yellow, and the body obviously will over the years, so you will see a stark difference in colour there. But for the most part, I'm reasonably okay with this one, but could potentially be upgraded. Now, one of my favourites of all time the ATAT driver. And I believe this one is pretty perfect actually. He is prone to having his butt show a lot of paint rub. This one obviously does not. The red is still quite vibrant on his insignia. So yeah, this is a figure I will definitely not need to upgrade, I think. The most controversial Star Wars figure ever seen on YouTube. So, this is the one that caused a lot of upset in the world of Star Wars collecting because I had the audacity to remove this from a mint on card package. I'm still so glad I did, because this is a perfect example of this figure, which so often suffers from nose rub. But as you can see, mine is as perfect as the day it was made back in the 80s. And it's just not possible to get a better version of the ATAT Commander than this. So now we've got 2-1B. I don't know what to say really. I'm pretty sure that middle part of the body is prone to yellowing, whether it's been, you know, out on display or kept in the dark all these years. It's just one of these plastics that does tend to yellow. Mine isn't dreadful, and I think to avoid any sort of difficult tasks of trying to track down one that isn't slightly yellowed, I'm just going to keep this, to be honest. Not really a key figure in the movie, and as it is, what I have here I think will suffice for my display. FX7. Now I'm seeing my arm is a little bit bent there. I can probably rectify that with a bit of heat. Aside from that, not much more to say. There's no real paint rub. The white spines are still reasonably white, and maybe you can see at this point the slight crookedness of that arm, but as I said, I can probably rectify that, so no need to upgrade here. Another figure where you will not find a better example than this one, for the simple reason that I pulled this one from a mint on card. I think that was one of the first ones I did actually. Thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and the reason I chose this was because, as we all know, the TIE Fighter pilot, fresh out the packet, has the best smell ever, and this one certainly did have it then, and it still has it now because I've kept it in a sealed bag ever since. So yeah, this is the most perfect TIE Fighter pilot you're likely to see. Imperial Commander, another prime example. I didn't open this one mint on card, but it looks as if it has come straight from a card. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely nothing wrong whatsoever with this figure. So again, no need to upgrade here. Here we have Yoda. All in all, pretty good. The snake is not sitting at all well round his neck, but I'm not that bothered about that. But everything else, absolutely perfect, absolutely mint. And I suppose if need be, I could always use a snake from the retro collection, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it as is. So there's Yoda, pretty perfect. So now we have Zuckuss, and yes, I did say Zuckuss. This will always be known as Zuckuss. Honestly, absolutely nothing wrong with this. Pretty perfect, if I'm being honest. So he is an absolute keeper. In fact, he looks even better now than I first thought. So yeah, very happy with this one. Here we have M.a.s.k. Now M.a.s.k is one of those figures that does suffer from paint wear, in particular on the harness. Now on my example, I think it's pretty good. No real rub on his backside, and the front, the harness looks reasonably okay. I think for my purposes, this one is as good as I'm going to get, so no need to upgrade M.a.s.k. Dengar. a figure that is prone to yellowing. I think mine is reasonably okay. On the back it does seem slightly more yellow than the front, but for the sake of a display you're not going to see that. So as far as I'm concerned, Dengar is pretty good, and I don't think I'll upgrade, but if one came up for a good price, maybe. Forlom. It took me a while to find this one that was in as good condition as that for a reasonable price. One of these figures that always has lost accessories, so to find one where the coat isn't all, you know, rubbed away wasn't easy, but I found this one and I'm extremely happy with that, and there still is a slight aroma to the coat, so that's obviously a bonus as well. But Forlom will be staying. IG88. All in all, pretty good looking example, though it does have one slightly bowed leg, which obviously is a common problem with this figure. Again, maybe some heat can fix that, but otherwise it's a pretty good looking example. Now next up we have the Ugnaught. And this one is one that I cracked open from an AFA graded case. So this one is as mint as you're going to find. My only complaint is, and it's a common problem, the way the apron is attached, it just looks like such a mess back there. If anyone knows of a better way of attaching it, please do let me know, because I hate the fact that these bows do tend to come out and it just looks so messy. But overall, this is another fantastic example of a figure, and as it should be, because it was graded, but I of course broke the case. Lobot. Pretty good example. It's hard to tell if the arms have yellowed or not because it was a slightly cream colour to begin with. So therefore, not really a concern to me. The paint applications are fine, the eyes are good. So yeah, Lobot is looking good, he stays. Cloud Car Pilot. Took me a while to find this one because another figure that does tend to yellow. Very happy with this example, and the paint on the helmet perfect as well. That is prone to rubbing, but in this instance looks good. The goggles look good, everything looks good. Happy with this one. So Bespin Security Guard number 1. With this one and the one I'm about to show, it took me a while to find examples where the gold was still intact. These are not perfect, but they're pretty good, and fortunately most of the rubbing has taken place on the back. So again, for my display, not a problem. Happy with this one. And Bespin Guard 2, same story. Hunted high and low to find ones where the gold was still looking quite good. Front there looks good, and on the back, not bad actually. So two pretty nice examples of the Bespin Guard, so no complaints there. Now C3PO with removable limbs and his bag. This one is absolutely perfect, the reason being I removed this from a sealed baggie. So again, you will not find a better example than this one. This is as fresh as the day it left the factory, so that is perfect. So R2-D2 with sensor scope. This one took a while to find. This is as good as it gets, really, in all honesty. Unless you're going down the route of reproduction stickers, you're not going to find a better example of this. The chrome is just perfect. The blue paint is perfect. No need to upgrade this whatsoever. Get him out of the shot there. So we're in the home stretch. We've got Lando Calrissian. He is looking good. He is not the white teeth version, but that's okay. The cape has become slightly warped in storage. I'll need to flatten that possibly, but that aside, everything about this figure, absolutely perfect. And as a kid, this was the version I had, so very happy with this one. So Princess Leia in her Bespin gown. Another figure that I hunted high and low to get one where the gold was still intact. It is actually. The cape is good, no tears, and of course the much sought after blaster. So this one is perfect, does not need to be upgraded. Han Solo in his Bespin outfit, again another prime example, still has the lemon piping down the side of his pants and no paint rub, and everything about this one perfect. Another prime example. So last of all, from the main line, we have Luke Skywalker in his Bespin fatigues, and you will be hard pressed to find a better example than this, the reason being I broke this one out of an AFA graded case. Now, ironically, I may look to upgrade this figure, the reason being that I bought this prior to the retro collection coming out that we'll look at shortly, and the one I had as a kid actually had the darker hair, and I could not find a darker haired example that met my needs, so I went ahead and bought this one, but I would prefer to have the darker haired version. But as you can see, this figure is absolutely perfect. Oh, I should point out as well, I'm going to have to do something about the hilt of the lightsaber. Whatever I do, he keeps dropping it, so maybe some blue tack or something in the future when it's on display. But last of all, we have one more loose figure to look at. It came courtesy of Stan Solo. I think this is K2SO. If I made a mistake, I'll put the correct name underneath. But this is another unique figure from Stan Solo, obviously based on the removable limb C-3PO. This one looks stunning, absolutely perfect, and a welcome addition. So finally, we have some carded figures to look at. Now, although I just said these are carded figures, I have actually opened all of these. I just put them back in the cards for safe storage. But we have Luke Skywalker, Snowspeeder pilot, and this is a figure I really could have done with back when I was a kid. I did have the Snowspeeder and I had one Luke X-Wing pilot, so to have had this would have been perfect to have put one of them in the back seat. But this is a great addition to the Star Wars line. Obviously another Hoth Han Solo. Potentially I could use that on the display because his legs aren't too splayed, but we'll see. Next we have, now Boba Fett we already looked at in the first series because he technically first appeared on the Star Wars card backs, but again, a really mint example of a vintage looking figure. Lando Calrissian. Sadly, it's not the white teeth version because I could have used that as a potential variant, but still looks good like that. Yoda with a nicely formed snake. So potentially I could use the snake on my vintage version. We have another Hoth Leia. Given that mine is absolutely perfect, I'll probably use this one in some sort of Hoth diorama. And last of all, Luke Skywalker, Bespin fatigues. Now, as I just mentioned earlier, had this come out prior to me getting my original vintage, I wouldn't have got a blonde-haired version for myself. I would have got the darker-haired version straight away. So now I have two light-haired versions. I may try to swap my original for a dark hair. Let's see what happens. So I'd actually finished the video, edited it, uploaded it to YouTube, and remembered I had these. Now these are the 2 packs of Bounty Hunters for the retro collection. So technically, this solves my slightly yellowed Dengar issue. This solves my slightly bowed leg IG-88 issue. I've got enough Boba Fett's as it is, and this Bosk also has nice paint on his little harness there. So technically, I am covered for those figures that I mentioned previously that may need to be upgraded. Once again, it's so frustrating having most of my collection in storage. And like I said, completely forgot I had these, but there you go. These are the additional figures for The Empire Strikes Back. As you can see, not a whole lot wrong there. One or two could be upgraded. And in the case of the Bespin look, I may have to try to get the darker haired version that I did have as a kid. But aside from that, we're in pretty good shape as far as Empire Strikes Back is concerned. Now, obviously, you know what's coming next. The next episode will, of course, look at the figures from Return of the Jedi. But in the meantime, I really hope you enjoyed that look there at my Empire Strikes Back collection. And if you did, please do leave a thumbs up. It only takes a microsecond to hit that thumbs up. It means the world to me. Please share the video. Please make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for more videos from All Things 80s.